Today I'm going to show you how to draw a perfect 1-inch grid. What you'll need for this is a piece of paper. The minimum size requirement is 8 by 12. You may have larger and that's okay. We can always cut off some pieces, but if it's any smaller, that's just not going to work. So if you don't have it in your sketchbook, ask for a neighbor, or if your neighbor doesn't have it, I do have some paper we can use. You'll also need a pencil. For today's demonstration, I'll be using a Sharpie so that you can see, but you should really be using a pencil. You'll also need a ruler. So the first thing I want you to do, get a piece of paper from your sketchbook, measure, make sure it's the right dimensions. So this side is 12, that's what I want. This side is 8.5, so I'll know that I need to cut off a 1/2 inch eventually, and I'm going to start at the 0, going from left to right, making my marks. I'll show you how to do that when we get there. But what I really need is just a minimum of 8 by 12. So what I like to do when I do the grid, I'm going to line my ruler up flush with both sides. So in other words, 0 is on one end and 12 is on the other end, and it's perfectly lined up. That's exactly 12 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead holding my ruler steady, holding the paper steady. I'm just going to make small marks on the very edge of that paper every time I see the inch mark. All right, this is what it looks like. These marks are 1 inch apart. All right, and I'm going to do that on all 4 sides, and I'm just going to go from left to right. So I'm marking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll know I have to cut off this column eventually because that's only a 1/2 inch. Your paper may be a whole inch too long. That's okay. We shall cut it off later. So again, I'm just marking at every inch. I'm not moving my ruler, holding the paper steady, making sure I line it up evenly. Alright, so I'm making these small dashes on all 4 sides. So that's complete. So now what I'm going to do is just connect the dashes that are directly across from one another. So I place my ruler slightly underneath the dashes that are directly across from one another, making sure that's a straight line. I'm going to hold my pencil, in my case it's a Sharpie, in your case it will be a pencil, on the very end. What this will do is just provide a smooth, more confident stroke here, and it encourages you to draw lighter. We really don't need these dark, heavy lines, especially if you come to find that you make an error. It'll be difficult to erase. So at this point you may realize it's really important that these increments are evenly spaced and that you've drawn the dash at the same spot on the opposite side. If you did not do that, you'll notice that the column either tapers in and gets thinner in one area, or it may get wider, and that'll just mean you did some incorrect measuring on one side. Alright, we're going to do the other side now. So right now, depending on how you're holding your paper, these are rows or columns, but we have perfect 1 inch rows or columns, and now we're going to do that on the other side. Alright, you're going to keep going until you have a perfect grid. right, so what you're gonna have in the end here is a grid that looks like this. So please come see me if you have access an extra column or if you have an extra row, and I can help to cut that off. But by now you should have a perfect 1-inch grid.